All right, so we've got a couple guys up on the third floor. Definitely some on second, but the windows are they're still intact, so there's no telling how many guys are in there. We've got some boys out in front. Looks like they're building up for a push, but I don't know how much good we're gonna do. Not much. Here's what we're gonna do.
We go around the stronghold, pushing northwest, and walk our way through the maze of buildings for cover and concealment. They're likely trying to plus up that structure with reinforcements, so we're going to go long and cut off any backup they may have coming. Comms are going to be spotty with all these structures. We may have no contact with friendlies that may be trying to do the same. Once we're deep, upon contact, thermal +1 will offset for PID, while the rest of us maneuver for the hit. They'll give us the go, no-go if they're friendly or not. 1 is good, 2 is bad. Chances are we'll catch them off guard or complacent, with us being so far behind their line, but don't slack off. Total light discipline, passive IR use only. If we get the go, hit and run, rinse and repeat. When the sun comes up, we put the east to our back and hit the hardball back to the PB. You set the pace with the thermal, and we'll work off you.
All right, sound good? Sounds good.
Let me go brief the boys.
Roger that. Hey, we gotta move. We got a large element moving our position now. Roll. What you guys just watched was a cinematic recreation of something that we did 2 years ago as a small group of guys with varying levels of technology right here at Blacksite, AMS, Fort McClellan, and Old Marine Corps Barracks. And we're going to walk you through step by step what we learned, our SOPs, how we played to the strengths of each guy on the team and the technologies that they had to absolutely decimate another squad. How do we perfectly blend the capabilities of white light, night vision, and thermal to exact our will on an opposing force? What if you only have a white light, or as a lot of people call it, a poor, which is basically just anyone on a budget these days on the internet? Can you still be an asset? What if you don't have thermal? Are you destined to die to someone with superior tech? We've been asking ourselves that for a long time, and quite frankly, what we found is that no matter what you do or you don't have, knowing how to use your equipment makes you always valuable to a team who knows how to plug you in the right spot.
So the first thing, and maybe the most important thing, is actually understanding your own team's capabilities. And that goes beyond just what they're physically capable of. That also extends to what technology do they own and how proficient are they with it. Now, this night, we had 6 guys that we all trusted. We had all been training together before, whether that was Milsim or even video games. We knew how one another moved. So we had everyone with night vision, everyone with white light, and 1 guy with thermal. Now, that may look very different for you, where you may have 1 guy with thermal, 2 guys with night vision, and everyone else with white light. Everything we're talking about here still works just the same. It just takes a little bit of creativity and training to get comfortable with your guys to make something like this happen.
So let's start with the white light guys and what they were doing, because quite frankly, their role is the most important. What? White light is the most important technology? Yes, and here's why. We do not live in a foreign war zone where all targets are cleared hot. We are American citizens, and citizens in any conflict always have a responsibility for positive identification. In the worst case scenario that you can come up with, that any of us can think about, we as normal people will always have the responsibility of not shooting good guys and taking down bad guys. And the best way to do that is with white light, because the limitation of night vision and thermal is that you cannot always clearly see what uniform someone is wearing or what pattern they have on or any other sort of identifying features. That is where you have to visually see them, and that requires the most basic technology of a flashlight. You see, shooting the wrong person, shooting someone who's not a threat or who is a non-combatant, it's a great way to land yourself in prison, wanted, or worse. It can hurt your cause. Now, our founding fathers understood that. They understood that the spirit of the people had to be with the common man. And if you make a mistake as a civilian in a combat arena of your choosing in your mind, and you hurt someone who doesn't deserve it, that's a great way to ruin your cause. And we can see in our history how that has played out both ways. In the case of the Revolutionary War, the common man was the hero. They were the victors, and ultimately it led to victory overall, and we won the Revolutionary War. You take a look at the Civil War, where atrocities were committed on both sides against our own people, and it led to hatred and resentment and continued atrocities for dozens of decades. Okay, dozens of decades doesn't make sense. Many, many years. So if all you have is a white light, don't let the internet, hype beasts convince you into thinking you have to have night vision or you have to have thermal to have any sort of value on the team. That couldn't be any further from the truth. You play a critical role in one of the most important things, which is positively identifying a target before you shoot. Now, we're not saying night vision and thermal aren't useful. Obviously, we have them, we love them, we run them. They certainly make you more capable. But even if all you have is a white light, man, you play a critical role on a team. We need you.
Now, in this scenario that we recreated for you guys, we actually had our 2 white light guys with thermal as well detach at an elevated position in a place of cover. The reason for cover is because, man, if everyone else has night vision, or man, even if they don't, if you turn on white light, all attention is going to be going that direction. So in good cover at an elevated position, they turn on white light just long enough to PID, turned it off, and then communicated with radios. Now, you don't have to use radios. You could use a very simple device like a clicker. This one we got from Black Hills Designs. They're $25. They can go on your rifle, or you could even just hang it on your kit or put it in your pocket. Now, we had, again, pre-established SOPs that helped us be successful in that scenario, where one long click is for friendly confirmation, and 2 clicks was to confirm, hey, that guy over there that we're all looking at, that's an enemy. Now, you could do this exact same thing with a PTT. You don't even have to talk through it, but just by pressing your PTT, you hear when someone keys in over your headset or through a radio. So the point here is figure out those SOPs ahead of time, so you're not trying to do a hasty, quiet conversation in the dark, and you can actually execute when you see something off in the distance. The final thing that's worth noting when it comes to white light is that, man, you can steal people's night vision. And I'm talking about both night vision, because they have auto gating where they will turn themselves off if there's too many lumens, too much candela. To protect the night vision, they just turn off. Also, if your eyes have naturally adjusted to the darkness and someone shines a white light in your eyes, you already know what I'm talking about. It takes a few minutes to be able to see in the dark again. So you can literally steal people's night vision, whether they have nods or not.
Guys, we want to take a second and say thank you to the sponsors that made this short film and this video possible. One of those is Steel Industries. They supplied all of our night vision, and we've been customers of theirs for years. They are absolutely stellar in terms of their customer service, and they've got some great deals on nods. So if you want to hit them up, there's a discount in the description. Also, Wetworks. They've been our go-to for nylon for quite a while now. They also make these awesome Wraith hoodies. They're coming out with a short sleeve version here soon, and they make all of our helmet scrim. Fantastic dude, fantastic company, and make incredible stuff. Discount in the description for you guys as well. And finally, Avon Protection. One of the next big videos that we're going to be doing is on gas masks. And in terms of gas masks, you really get what you pay for. And Avon Protection, they are the only US NIOSH approved gas mask on the market, and filters, and not to mention they just look rad and they feel great. So hit them up, check them out. That's our go-to. Let's get back to the show. The thing about night vision is, at least in America, it is very prevalent among people like us. Even if it's just a PVS-14 or like a really cheap Gen 2 PVS-14, it's still effective. I mean, even out here at Milsim or airsoft games, you have teenagers running around with PVS-14s that they spent 6 summers mowing yards saving up for, and they're using it against everybody else. And if that's not a sign that this technology is so prevalent that in many ways it's kind of compromised, especially if you don't use it correctly, then I don't know what is. So for us as a team, all usage of night vision is purely passive. We do not use lasers, we do not use illuminators unless it's a very specific case. And before we stepped off that night when we did this, we all agreed, hey, we are not using lasers, we are not using illuminators. And one of the first ways that you can figure out whether or not someone is kind of tuned up or what their standards of training are is how they use it. For example, we were off in the distance looking at this massive firefight going on, and it was a light show of lasers and illuminators and all sorts of other stuff. And from a distance, we could see like, hey, we do not need to waste our skills or our capabilities or our level of teamwork on that chaos, that low standard chaos. We do not need to do that. Let's go make ourselves useful and use what we're good at and our strengths in a different way, which is why we decided to skirt around all of that fighting and sneak into deeper enemy territory and set up ambushes. And if you want to get especially crafty, you can use your white light guys or your thermal guys to look into the dark areas that normally you would use an IR illuminator with. They can look at that with either a white light from a very safe location or from a thermal from any distance and communicate to you if there's someone in there or not.
Now, when it comes to comparing night vision and thermal, I know that there's a lot of people out there on the internet saying, hey, you don't even need night vision anymore. It's old school. Just put your money into thermal. And I understand what they're talking about, but there are still 3 really big wins when it comes to night vision. The first one being battery life. So on an RH25, even with a rechargeable high power 18650, you're still only getting about 5 hours of battery life. That's not even a full night of running it. Whereas on this PVS-14 with a AA battery, you're getting 50 hours. It's a long time on one battery. The next would be cost. So the fact that this RH25 and the 14 cost about the exact same is awesome, but with the lower quality, the lower power thermal compared to some of the other high-end, really expensive thermals, I can't navigate nearly as well with something like this. It works, but the refresh rate and the image quality is just not there when compared to night vision. And finally, with the concept of having to passively aim, I love the fact that I can passively aim with a 14 while it's still mounted on my head. Now, I could put this RH-25 onto a rifle, especially with the Falcon Claws ecosystem. Being able to clip this onto the rifle is really nice, but if you are navigating around with just a 14, you can walk around with it on your head and shoot passively with it. So, should you just dive in and go buy an RH-25, I would still advocate that buying a 14 first is going to be the winning move, but that's really up to you.
I would say just go with a cheaper helmet-mounted thermal.
Yeah, I'd still say 14. You can save a lot of money. Go on eBay, buy a Gen 2 14.
Go on eBay, buy an even cheaper thermal.
Yeah, do it, and then try walking in the woods with an even cheaper thermal.
I'm gonna kill you tonight.
Hey guys, we got a bunch of airsofters coming up. We might want to go like influence somewhere else.
So with thermal, at least in the context of Milsim and when people are actually hunting you as well, we allow the thermal guy to really be the gas or brakes for the team. We do not want to outrun his ability to scan and see the buildings in depth where we're going or up over defilade. So that's not to say that that we were going at a snail's pace, but we were allowing the thermal guy to say, hey, halt, I see something, everyone huddle up, let me tell you what's going on. In this context, we did see 6 to 7 guys kind of loitering around a building, and we couldn't tell, based on distance with thermal and night vision, what team they were on. Really hard to see that color, really hard to see camo patterns, and again, in civilian context, we don't have the luxury of having identifiers on our uniforms. In military or even law enforcement, they can start putting specific patches or ribbons like we've seen over in Ukraine, the blue or yellow tape. We don't have that kind of freedom, which once again forced us to offset and start utilizing white light. On the other hand, the upside to that thermal is that we spotted them further away than they were able to see us. Some of them did have night vision. So because we had that extra heads up, we had distance, we were able to maneuver. Now again, another thing to think about was the fact that we only had one thermal on the team. If everyone had thermal, we wouldn't have been protecting a certain person, but being that there was only one guy with thermal, we wanted to set him aside. So we offset him with another night vision guy who ended up being the white light guy. We prioritized them being in a really safe space. The other thing is we wanted to make sure that the thermal guy, once he had eyes on these guys, he didn't lose sight of them. We didn't want them to walk around a corner and then, he couldn't tell us where they went. So he prioritized keeping eyes on while the night vision team maneuvered. As soon as everyone was set, only then did we actually activate white light. The night vision guys moved through, but the job wasn't done for thermal because thermal is still that one tool that we had in order to scan and protect. So once the night vision guys moved inside, the thermal and white light team shifted and really had an overwatch posture. They were scanning the outside of the building. To be honest, in real life, once we actually got inside as the night vision guys and we shot a bunch of dudes, none of us actually got hit. We were so stoked. We were high-fiving one another, and our guard kind of went down. Airsoft grenade rolled through and blew up in front of all of us, and a huge team of guys came in and swept us. We totally died, and it was a glorious death. But what we should have been able to do was utilize that thermal a little bit more, offset him at a better angle to where he could have seen a different entryway where the enemy team was coming in to kill us. And that would have given us a little bit better heads up, and we should have had a better posture for security to get in, do what we had to do, and then get out. And that's really a great example of, you can have all the tools in the world, you can have good SOPs, but man, if you don't train it, and if you don't practice with one another, the ability to have comms, what happens if you lose sight of our guys, okay, I'm gonna offset and pick up a different sector. If you don't have those kinds of things trained throughout Milsim or going on a flat range or LARPing in the woods, all of those plans kind of start to fall apart.
All right, guys, so that is how we balance the use of these 3 different technologies in a team environment. Now, as Josh kind of already alluded to, when we did this for real, there was a much different ending. And I want to bring up the point that you should always kind of remember what the strengths and weaknesses are of a small team. What we should have done is remember that we are a small team, behind enemy lines, and because of that, we don't need to get too apart from each other. We need to there needs to be like a tether, so whoever is going deep into it needs to be aware or cognizant of the fact that, man, I'm away from my guys, and pull back. Also, be aware of the strength of the opposing force. Everything that you just saw us do in that video, which is based on what we did at this actual event several years ago, it worked because who we were up against, the guys were complacent. They were not tuned up. They didn't have as good of technology as we did, and they certainly didn't implement it as well. And because of that, and because of how we operated, we could kind of impose our will on them. When you go up against an opposing force that is as equally yoked as you are, so their technology is on par with yours, their skill sets, their individual skill sets, their teamwork, it's a much different story, and it is wise to be very discerning before engaging in a battle, or try and stand back and watch what is going on, what capabilities do they have, how these guys move together, do they seem like they're lollygagging or complacent, what's their physical fitness like, you know, like, can we outrun them, that kind of thing. All of that matters. Just because you've seen us do something that was super cool and we explain it well does not mean it's always going to work. Be smart about who you're facing, what your limitations are, what their strengths may be. And to reiterate Josh's point about training, this is a very relatively low-cost way to get some good training in with your guys. And I know for us, we can't always go to Milsim events just because of schedule. Also, it can be expensive if you try and go to them all the time. Find other ways to train. I mean, you can practice land navving just going off-roading with the boys, or going on a road trip, or even just going camping. You can practice a lot of these techniques and concepts on the flat range with your guys. You can set up specific drills that are white light, thermal, night vision specific, blend them and see how well it works. Also, this is going to sound kind of corny, but a lot of the guys that we do stuff like this with together, we play video games, and we figure out how to talk. We develop SOPs, how to communicate. We even figure out, like, how does this guy move around me, or if we see someone, what does this guy typically do in response to it? You start to learn more about how the guys around you that you actually go out and do this stuff with operate within video games. One of the best tools for that, in my opinion, is Gray Zone Warfare. They have the most realistic night vision experience in gaming, and it's great. It's a great practice for night vision and white light. And I know me and Kenny, a bunch of the guys, we use that all the time. So whatever it is, you don't have to spend a lot of money. You don't have to spend a lot of time. You can just get out there in a variety of ways and start to build on all these skill sets and how they all work together. If you are looking to get into Milsim, there's several good options. AMS is the first one that I ever went to, American Milsim, and we can't thank these guys enough. And Bo, who runs it, they're awesome dudes, and they have done an incredible job at creating a kind of event that literally anyone can get into, whether it's a dad taking his teenage son out for the first time to do this kind of stuff. They make it very easy to step into this world, and it's a great way to get into Milsim, airsofting, whatever you want to call it. We call it training.
And to anyone who hears us say that we consider this training and is thinking to yourself, oh, well, the Milsim field is just a bunch of 12-year-olds or old Army guys that want to relive their glory days, or rich kids with night vision. Okay, if you're telling me that everyone out here is just a bunch of no-name neckbeards who are LARPing on the airsoft field, you should be able to run circles around them. You should be able to come out here for a full weekend and not get shot, right? This is a challenge for you guys. If you feel like something like this is beneath you, come give it a try, because you're gonna learn how many people are out here getting really squared away. I can tell you right now, I have met ODA, Green Berets. I have met Rangers, both current and former Rangers, Marine Corps individuals, 0311s, Army infantry guys, or honestly, even just teenagers who live and breathe this stuff that still train CQB with their buddies on the weekend, and you're gonna have a lot of welts. So, if anything, if you take anything from this, go train, and Milsim, one way or another, is a phenomenal way to do it.
Yes, Daddy. Yes. Reset.
Oh, that looks so good.
Slowing way down, guys. Upon any contact, the white light team That might have been too much. Do it again, but without the feet. That was a one take.
Stellar, boy.
Is that one of us?
Oh.
Bam, 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 bam. That was great. That one was it. Cool. That's it.
Boys.
I think that's a night. Roger that. Hey, we gotta move. We got a large element moving our position now. Cool.
All right. On to the next one.